The heartbreak of a power-hungry HOA. A life lost for the rules. It was supposed to be a simple weekend visit to my brother's neighborhood, a suburban haven tucked behind neatly manicured hedges and matching mailboxes, where every corner felt like it had been curated by a team of meticulous planners. I never expected my day to go from casual to catastrophic in a matter of minutes. I had parked my car just outside the community pool, a spot that allowed me to enjoy the scent of fresh burgers grilling alongside a few neighbors. It was the kind of peaceful Saturday that everyone longs for, until it all came crashing down. My brother, Marcus, and I were laughing about something silly when we heard a sudden commotion across the street. An elderly man, Mr. Thomas, collapsed right there on his front lawn. I immediately recognized the signs of a heart attack. I didn't hesitate. Grabbing my trauma bag from my car, I sprinted toward him. "Call 911!" I shouted to Marcus as I knelt beside Mr. Thomas. His pulse was faint, and his chest was still. I could feel the adrenaline flooding my system. I was a licensed paramedic, after all, though today wasn't supposed to be a work day. I was here to relax, not to save a life. But it didn't matter. I had trained for moments like this, and I wasn't going to waste a second. I began chest compressions, pushing hard and fast, knowing that time was running out. As I counted out the compressions, I could hear a voice, sharp and demanding, cutting through the tension. "Stop what you're doing! This is private property! You're trespassing!" I looked up to see Cheryl, the HOA president, marching toward us. Her heels clicked on the pavement, each step filled with authority. Her eyes weren't on the man lying lifeless on the lawn. No, her gaze was locked on me, a stranger in a uniform, daring to defy the rules of her perfect neighborhood. "I'm a licensed paramedic," I said firmly, without breaking my rhythm. "This man is dying. He needs CPR." But she wasn't listening. She barely glanced at Mr. Thomas, whose life hung by a thread. Instead, she barked orders at Brent, the self-appointed head of security. "No unauthorized medical services allowed," he said, as he radioed someone. "Are you serious?" Marcus asked, clearly frustrated, as he moved closer. "He's helping the man. He's saving his life." But Cheryl wasn't swayed. She dialed her phone and spoke in a tone that suggested she was dealing with some common criminal. "Police," she said. "There's an intruder on my neighbor's lawn, pretending to be a first responder." Moments later, Brent grabbed my shoulder, yanking me back from the man. I resisted, refusing to stop the compressions. That's when the second security guard tackled me from the side. My body slammed into the ground, and I watched helplessly as Mr. Thomas's wife screamed, her voice filled with desperation. "Please, let him save my husband! You're killing him!" Marcus shouted, filming the entire situation. But no one cared. To them, the rules, the bylaws of the HOA, were more important than a life. By the time the real paramedics arrived, it was too late. Mr. Thomas had no pulse. I was handcuffed and placed in the back of a patrol car, stunned and disbelieving. I tried to explain to the officers, but they didn't listen. My badge, my license, none of it mattered. The HOA had already given their version of the story, and their word was gospel. I was the one who ended up in the system, like some criminal. Hours later, Marcus's video had gone viral. By the time I was released, the damage was done. I had become the face of an outrage that was only beginning to unfold. Mr. Thomas's death, my arrest, it was all over social media, newspapers, and TV. The community that once prided itself on its orderly perfection was now the center of a national scandal. And it didn't stop there. The outrage didn't just fade away. It grew, louder and more insistent, with every passing day. People from all over the country were calling out the HOA for their negligence, their apathy. One comment I'll never forget read, "They arrested a medic in the middle of CPR? How is that not criminal negligence?" Meanwhile, inside the Cotton Ridge community, things were unraveling. Cheryl, Brent, and their loyalists tried to spin the incident as a misunderstanding. Cheryl even had the audacity to send out an email calling Mr. Thomas's death an incident casualty and describing my actions as unverified, as if I were some kind of imposter. But the backlash from the residents was swift and furious. Yard signs began to appear overnight, some reading, "HOA killed Mr. Thomas." Others mocked Brent, drawing cartoons of him in handcuffs. The community, once bound by fear of the HOA's power, had started to break free. But I wasn't about to let this slide. I met with a civil rights attorney, Sabrina Monroe, who was relentless and sharp. She didn't just see an opportunity for a lawsuit, she saw a chance to make a statement. We filed a $10 million lawsuit against the HOA, claiming unlawful arrest, obstruction of medical care, and the direct cause of Mr. Thomas's death. The media storm that followed was relentless. Public pressure grew, and soon it wasn't just the HOA that was under fire. The state government took notice, and politicians began speaking out against the unchecked power of HOA boards. The trial that followed was nothing short of a spectacle. Cheryl and Brent sat in the defendants' seats, their faces a mixture of defensiveness and arrogance. Sabrina laid out the facts, how I was pulled off Mr. Thomas in the midst of life-saving efforts, how they obstructed an emergency response that could have saved him. The jury didn't take long to deliberate. The verdict was explosive. $10 million in damages, plus an additional $5 million in punitive fines. But the real victory came when the state attorney's office announced they would be reviewing criminal charges against the HOA members for obstruction and wrongful death. As the media flooded Cotton Ridge, the HOA collapsed. The residents, once divided, now stood united against the bureaucracy that had stolen a man's life. The HOA office was abandoned, the board was dissolved, and the community began the long process of healing. We didn't just win a lawsuit, we reclaimed our neighborhood. We exposed the dangers of unchecked power, and most importantly, we made sure that the next time someone's life is on the line, there won't be a clipboard-wielding tyrant standing in the way. Call to action. What do you think? Should HOA rules take priority over life-saving actions? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Is this the moment we start questioning authority? Or is this just another case of excessive entitlement? Let's hear your opinions.